When Kimi Antonelli was 11 years old, his family approached Ferrari, not for an autograph, not for a factory tour. They asked Ferrari's driver academy to sign him. Ferrari said no. Official reason: he was too young for their junior program. 8 years after that rejection, that same kid leads the Formula One World Championship. In a Mercedes, he has 6 wins in 12 races, and the team that turned him away at the karting stage now watches from across the paddock as the asset they rejected becomes the most valuable young driver in motorsport. He now drives the exact seat Lewis Hamilton left behind to sign for Ferrari, and the paddock is already asking the question in reverse. If Hamilton could leave Mercedes for Ferrari at the end of his story, could Antonelli be the one who does it at the start of his? Toto Wolff's response when asked about Ferrari's recent admiration said everything. Ferrari should have done the job 6 or 7 years ago. Mercedes built the finished product. Ferrari only noticed it once it was done. To understand this, rewind to 2019. Mercedes didn't just sign a promising karting talent, they made a long-term bet on a child. The original deal is widely believed to run around 10 years, reportedly through 2028, though Mercedes have never confirmed the length. Mercedes funded everything. His entire junior career, thousands of hours of simulator work, dedicated engineering time, preparing him for the exact F1 regulations he would eventually drive under. This was not a driver academy placement. This was an infrastructure investment. Fast forward to 2026. Antonelli's rookie F1 contract was initially short-term, a prove-it deal. But after the first half of his championship-leading season, Mercedes moved fast. They finalized a multi-year framework that locks him into the Silver Arrows through 2026 and beyond. The exact term remains private. Wolff described it publicly as a multi-year window rather than attaching a hard end date. Translation: Mercedes are not renting Antonelli. They built him, and they did not build him to sell. Now, here is the part the rumors get right. If you put Kimi Antonelli in a Ferrari, he would still win races. His driving style, aggressive throttle application, legendary car control from his karting days would suit the Ferrari SF26 perfectly. That car has arguably the best handling chassis on the 2026 grid. On tight circuits like Hungary or Monaco, the Ferrari is actually the faster package through the corners. High front-end responsiveness, exceptional mechanical grip. Antonelli would be devastating over a single qualifying lap in that car. But here's what most people miss. He would not be dominating the championship the way he is now. The Ferrari power unit still lacks a fraction of Mercedes's straight-line deployment. On tracks like Spa and Monza, he would be driving defensively, managing a speed deficit on the straights, relying on cornering to stay in the fight. He would be locked in wheel-to-wheel tactical battles against the Mercedes cars he currently controls from the front. Still winning races, just working much harder for them. But the Ferrari question is not really about car performance. It is about what happened in 2018. Antonelli was 11 years old. He and his father walked into Ferrari's driver academy, the same program that developed Charles Leclerc, that identified Jules Bianchi, that built the most famous junior pipeline in motorsport, and Ferrari turned him down. The policy, they said, was clear. He was too young, not ready, wrong fit. Wolff's version is less diplomatic. Speaking to Belgian media, he said Ferrari simply missed the job. Mercedes did not miss it. They committed immediately. They funded everything. And 7 years since Mercedes signed him, they've engineered a generational talent into a championship leader. The Ferrari rejection is not just an anecdote. It is the structural reason the rumors cannot become reality right now. Ferrari had their chance. They chose their policy over the driver, and they handed Mercedes the blueprint. Sign early, build patiently, never let go. But here is the detail that makes Antonelli's position genuinely unbreakable. Mercedes's loyalty to him is not sentimental. It is born from a very specific failure and a graveyard of junior drivers they built and discarded. The list is longer than most fans realize. Pascal Wehrlein was Mercedes's first major junior investment, a DTM champion, a driver Toto Wolff personally backed. But when Sauber's 2017 Soit opened up, Mercedes refused to intervene, and Wehrlein's F1 career died at Manor Racing after 2 seasons. Then came Esteban Ocon. Mercedes placed him at Force India in 2017, and for 2 seasons he delivered. Points finishes, racecraft, genuine pace against Sergio Perez. But when Lawrence Stroll bought the team and installed his son Lance, Ocon was pushed out. Rather than find him a seat elsewhere, Mercedes parked him on the sidelines for an entire year. He became a reserve driver while his prime racing years ticked away. And Nick de Vries, a Formula E champion, a Formula 2 champion, Mercedes gave him exactly a 1F1 opportunity, a stand-in race at Monza in 2022, where he scored points on debut. Wolff praised him publicly, then signed him to AlphaTauri, not Mercedes. When De Vries struggled across 10 races with a weak car, Red Bull cut him, and Mercedes let it happen without public defense. Wolff later admitted it proved their decision to pass on. De Vries was correct. 3 drivers, 3 different failures, 1 consistent pattern. Mercedes builds you up, but the moment you no longer serve their strategic timeline, you are on your own. Antonelli is different, not because of loyalty or sentiment, because he is winning, and the graveyard exists to remind you. Mercedes does not carry dead weight. Antonelli is not the driver Mercedes would sacrifice to make room. He is the driver they would protect. And yet, Antonelli himself has left the door slightly open. When asked directly about the Ferrari rumours, his answer was carefully calibrated. He is fiercely loyal to Mercedes. He said his sole focus is winning a championship with the Silver Arrows. But he also said this: driving for Ferrari one day later in his career would be an amazing honour. That is not disloyalty, it is ambition. Antonelli knows he is 19 years old and already leading a world championship. He knows he could spend a decade at Mercedes and still have a decade left. And he is Italian. Driving for Ferrari is not just a career move for an Italian driver, it is a national story. The question is timing. Mercedes own Antonelli's immediate future through contractual architecture that Ferrari cannot simply outbid. There is no release clause, no buyout, no active offer from Maranello. Antonelli's management have confirmed no talks with Ferrari have taken place, and yet the rumours persist because they make too much sense not to. But to dismiss these rumours as just paddock gossip is to misunderstand what Ferrari represents. Antonelli is Italian, and in Italy, Formula One is not a sport, it is a religion. Ferrari is the Vatican. Every Italian driver who has ever reached Formula One has faced the same question. Not if they will drive for Ferrari, but when. The history makes it unavoidable. Alberto Ascari won Ferrari's first world championship in 1952. Niki Lauda rebuilt his career and his face in red. Michael Schumacher became a god in Maranello. And Charles Leclerc, the last driver Ferrari invested everything in, carries the weight of an entire nation's expectation every race weekend. And Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes' greatest driver, now wearing red at the end of his career, is proof that even a decade in silver can end in Maranello. Antonelli would not just be another Ferrari driver. He would be the first Italian world champion in a Ferrari since Alberto Ascari. He would be the fulfillment of a fantasy that Italian motorsport has been chasing for over 70 years. That pressure is not theoretical. Italian media already cover Antonelli's every race result. The Tifosi already track his championship lead. Every overtake, every qualifying lap, every podium is catalogued, not just as Mercedes' success, but as the promise of what might one day wear red. Ferrari know this. Mercedes know this. And Antonelli, at 19, knows exactly what he represents. So let's name the names. The question is not whether Ferrari wants him, it is whether he can resist being wanted. Which brings us back to the name in the title. Is Antonelli really the next Hamilton? Not in results. Not yet. Hamilton spent over a decade at Mercedes winning championships before he ever put on red. Antonelli has led a championship for a matter of months. Comparing trophies right now is premature, and anyone telling you otherwise is selling hype, not analysis. But the shape of the career is where the comparison actually holds up. Hamilton was Mercedes' defining product, built, backed and dominant in silver, before making the one move that still shook the sport, walking into Ferrari. Antonelli is being built the exact same way, by the exact same team, under the exact same gravitational pull toward Maranello. Hamilton lived that pull at the end of his story. Antonelli is living it at the beginning of his. That's not a talent comparison, it's a pattern, and Ferrari has now watched it happen twice. First with Hamilton, whose entire prime played out in silver before he finally arrived in red, and now with the kid they rejected, growing up inside the same silver pipeline Hamilton once defined. Ferrari is now in the position of admiring a driver they declined to sign when he was still available. In 2018, Ferrari made a judgment call. Too young, not ready, wrong fit for the policy. Every race he wins, that judgment gets overturned again. Ferrari didn't lose a driver in 2018. They lost the bet that they were right about him, and they have been paying for it every Sunday since.